The marathon. It's the longest race on the Olympic program. Athletes run a distance of 42.195 kilometers. The event takes place on the road with refueling stations appearing every 5 kilometers. The course can be looped, out and back, or run over multiple laps. It's a truly humbling and rewarding race that you can only truly understand by experiencing it yourself. I wanted to make a video talking about my previous marathon experiences and my marathon progression over the short time that I've been in the running space. So I started running at the end of 2020 when my girlfriend Michaela bought me my very first pair of running shoes, the Nike Tempo Next Percents. Geez, what a great shoe that was. I've been running for about 3 years now, but the first year of that 3, I wasn't really taking it all that serious. More of a recreational runner, you could say. But in the last year and a half, I've now run 3 marathons. My first marathon was the Gold Coast Marathon, which I ran in July 2022. With this came an interesting prep and execution. I went into the race severely underprepared, underfueled, and undertrained. Basically, the reason for that was because a month prior to doing the Gold Coast Marathon, the furthest distance that I had run was the Brisbane Half Marathon just a month before. I finished the Brisbane Half Marathon and I was on runner's high, and I thought, what can I do next? And obviously the next course of action is the marathon, and I thought 4 weeks, yep, easy as, that should be doable. Obviously not really knowing anything about the marathon and how it will definitely humble you. So I went into that race with only eating a banana for breakfast and a coffee, and I think I had one gel that I carried with me along the race. Yep, it's pretty safe to say that it was a bit of a shit show, and I pretty much cramped my way over the finish line. I ran 3 hours, 8 minutes and 8 seconds, which is a really great debut, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't satisfied. My number one lesson learned from my first marathon was educate myself on proper fueling and the importance of long runs. Considering I didn't run any further than the half marathon distance in the prep for the Gold Coast Marathon, I think I definitely had room to grow there. My second marathon was the Gold Coast Marathon once again, exactly a year after my first. This time I had an entire year of consistent training under my belt, and I had a hell of a lot more knowledge regarding fueling, hydration, and pacing. The goal for this run was sub 3 hours, and I ended up running 2 hours 56:59, which was probably one of the best feelings in the world. Even though I struggled on my own from 32 kilometers out, my training block was all but perfect. So I actually went on a holiday with my girlfriend Michaela to Japan for 2 weeks, and we arrived home about 6 weeks out from the Gold Coast Marathon. This meant that I had 2 weeks from when I got home to get back into fitness before I then had the Brisbane Half Marathon, which I was putting into my training block as a test of fitness. And then I only had 4 weeks from then until race day to sharpen up and also taper. So I couldn't help but feel like I wasn't reaching my full potential at the time, and I was again left feeling hungry and unsatisfied, which I think is just how running makes you feel. You're always looking to continuously grow, you're always trying to beat those times, you're forever hungry, forever unsatisfied. My number one lesson learned from that marathon was don't organize holidays on important training blocks or important training weeks leading up to important races, and also to incorporate long runs with marathon effort. Felt like the overall speed was there, but I just didn't have the fitness in the legs at marathon pace when I got into the deep end of the marathon. So adding marathon effort into my long runs was my biggest lesson learned, and what I'm going to take away with me into my next block. Now we move on to my most recent marathon and my most favorite as well. This was the Melbourne Marathon that I just completed in October of last year. With Melbourne Marathon being about 16 weeks after Gold Coast Marathon, I gave myself about a week and a half to recover after the Gold Coast, and then I was straight into a 14.5 week training block to get fighting fit, ready for Melbourne Marathon. This time I programmed 30K long runs every week leading up and made sure to add marathon effort into them from about 8 weeks leading out. Learning from my mistakes earlier in the year, I didn't plan any holidays in this build up, and I managed to complete a really solid, really consistent training block, and I managed to stay injury free for the entire time as well. And that left me feeling fit as ever. The goal was to get as close to 2 hours 50 as possible. which was ambitious, but I knew that I had it in me. My race execution was perfect, and I really have the 2 hour 50 pacer to thank. Running in a group is honestly a game changer, especially when you're in the marathon. It's one of the best things that you can do while you're in the race. I ended up running 2 hours, 51 minutes and 40 seconds with some pretty terrible cramping at 36 Ks in, where I actually had to completely stop running. I blame the cause of the cramping to low sodium, as I definitely didn't consume enough sodium throughout the race at all. So once again, I felt like I wasn't reaching my full potential at the time, and again, I was left feeling hungry and unsatisfied. My number one lesson learned from the Melbourne Marathon was to keep my sodium intake under control even when I don't feel like I need it. Make sure that I'm proactive, not reactive to the sodium tabs. I felt like I was only really remembering to take them when I could feel a cramp coming on. I need to make sure that I'm taking them way earlier, make sure that I'm taking full advantage of the drink stations, getting my fluids up. So all three of these races leads me to my newest venture, my next marathon in May 2024. The Noosa Runaway Marathon, where I hope to run sub 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's now 20 weeks out from the Noosa Marathon, and I'm in the middle of writing my 16-week plan that will hopefully get me to that massive PB. I also plan on documenting my training block in a road to sub 245 style series here on the channel, which I'll most likely be kicking off in the next coming weeks. Each marathon, I learn a little bit more about this crazy race, and each training block, I learn a little bit more about myself and how I adapt to training. I'm excited for the future lessons that this training block is going to teach me, and I'm ready to head into battle once again. That is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed me going through my past experiences of the marathon and what I have to come next. Some really exciting stuff, and I honestly am I'm basically counting down the days until Noosa Marathon prep. I feel like my life just has so much more purpose when I'm in a training block. I'm so ready to bring you guys some great content based around that, and also just to absolutely smash it and send it at Noosa Marathon. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my future content. And if you want to like this video, that will help me out as well. Thank you all for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.